Hello, Comment229 here for the Topic of the Week video. Christmas month continues with another positive Resident Evil topic, and this time it's going to be about Resident Evil 0. This week's topic was submitted by Angel89, and her topic is, in my humble opinion, Resident Evil 0 is kind of underrated and has a fantastic story. What do you think makes it a great game and story? What did it add to the lore? Do you think it helped flesh out Rebecca and the backstory of the first game we were told but hadn't seen in Resident Evil 1? What do you think of Billy? Now, Resident Evil 0 is interesting because it's a prequel to the first game, and it came out around the same time as Resident Evil Remake, and it stars Rebecca. And it's funny because Rebecca in the first game was just a minor character. Like, she was part of Bravo Team for Stars, but she wasn't like super significant. Not like characters like Chris, Jill, Barry, and Wesker. You know, the surviving characters from Alpha Team. But she had a small role, and something happened with her. With the team that they Bravo Team got wiped out, and and their disappearance is why Alpha went in. But, she really wasn't super big until you get to Resident Evil 0 and you actually get to play her story. And you actually get to see more of what she went through before the mansion incident. And it's actually interesting that she had this whole grand adventure before getting to, actually going to the events in the Spencer mansion. So that's actually kind of funny when you really think about it. It's like, oh yeah, Rebecca, she's just, she survived, but it's like, oh, it's nothing much. Like, no, she went through a lot. It's actually almost hilarious just how much she went through. And it also introduces us to Billy. So I'll talk about Billy because that was in the last part of the topic. But Billy is interesting as a protagonist because he's very different from pretty much every single other protagonist we've gotten until you get to like maybe Jake in Resident Evil 6. But it's, he's introduced, it's like, oh yeah, he's this mass murdering criminal, and it's like, oh, it's terrifying. And of course, then he's not. But I actually like his backstory about the whole thing of, the people getting killed in Africa and how he ended up basically as a scapegoat, and he was arrested and blamed for it, despite the fact that he didn't want to, he didn't want to kill anyone because, like, oh no, this is wrong. So, it turns out this guy who seems like he's just this typical, violent criminal. He's sort of a big, built dude, tattoos, and he looks kind of mean. And then, of course, you have the buildup of, oh no, they're telling you what he is, and it's not. And I also think he really plays off really well from Rebecca because, they're very different, they're very opposites in a lot of ways, but they really complement each other's characters because you have, Billy, I think he's, late 20s, he's like 26 or 27 or something like that. And he's a little bit older. In fact, I think he might actually be the oldest of some of the original playable characters. But then you have Rebecca, who's a little younger. I mean, of course, she's still on, Stars, but, she's a little bit younger than, the rest of the other characters. She's a little more naive, a little more green. So then she's also, nicer, it's just she has a much lighter personality compared to his more gruff one. And so they really work really well off of each other, and I really like the relationship that built between them. And especially by the end of the game, you see, they've come to the understanding of what really happened, and you see that respect between them and a possible, relationship. And I'm a little peeved that Billy never came back. Like, this is kind of the same thing that happened with Sheva after Resident Evil 5, where it's like, okay, this is a, significant character, then you never see him again. But I mean, at least Billy's a significantly more interesting character than Sheva. Sheva had potential, but I mean, I've already talked about that in Resident Evil 5. But it's kind of sad. It's like, oh no, I'd like to have seen more of Billy and what he was up to after Resident Evil, 0. But it's like, yeah, he kind of got left by the wayside, unfortunately. I mean, I would have liked to have seen him like go on to say like work in like a Terra save, and I honestly would have been cool because they talk about Terra save going in and helping people in Africa. Was it Kajuju? Wherever Resident Evil 5 took place. It really would have been nice to see him like go and help do work in Africa, relief work to help people there. Just maybe sort of like trying to make up for what happened in his backstory. So like I would have liked to have seen stuff like that, sort of build on that. Like, yeah, you have all these great ideas and these characters, and they're just not using them as much as they could. Billy's an interesting character who has, I think, more potential than more potential than Capcom is capitalized on. It's just, I mean, you have a character like Rebecca finally comes back in like Vendetta, but it's like, yeah, it's still been a long time. But anyway, I never played Resident Evil 0. I'm pretty sure I own Resident Evil 0. I think I have. Yeah, I actually own it because I bought it, but I haven't played it. I did watch a playthrough of it from the Niskel. Great playthrough. I love all the Niskel's Resident Evil playthroughs. Even watching ones of the games I've played. But it has like gameplay from Resident Evil Remake. So I can't really comment too much on that since I haven't directly played this game. But I always like the story and what it adds to the characters and the lore. One of my favorite things about this is that we actually get to see more of William Birkin and Albert Wesker interacting, because we know that they worked together for a long time, and we know that they were basically friends, even though Wesker is kind of a sociopath. He's probably like an outright psychopath, but they did work together, and it's nice to see some of these moments between them, particularly when you have everything is going all to hell because of what Marcus is doing. I'll talk about Marcus in a minute. And and basically Wesker's like, okay, I can see the writing on the wall. Umbrella's going down, and I'm jumping ship. And that Birkin doesn't want to leave because he needs to finish the G virus, which is why he's down in Raccoon City when everything is going down, because he was trying to work on the G virus. I'm like, okay, that's nice little build up for that one plot point in Resident Evil 2. But it's nice to see that relationship and see them working together. Even if it's only like a few scenes, it really kind of helps build up that relationship between Wesker and Birkin. Because it's like, they work together, and they actually do kind of flesh out a little bit. I don't know if this was talked about in other sources, but like Birkin did give Wesker that virus that he took, that actually they show in Resident Evil Remake, that turned him into a superhuman zombie man that you see in Code Veronica onward. It's like, yeah, so it's kind of building that up a little bit more. Well, we also get to see Marcus, who's one of the like old guard of Umbrella. So, I always loved seeing some of that older stuff of Umbrella. You see everything from like Oswald E. Spencer, Marcus, Alexander Ashford, all of those older generations, and seeing like kind of what happened to them. Also got turned into monsters. But but it is I did like seeing more of Marcus. Well, kind of Marcus, Queen Leech. I don't know. It's kind of like an Alex Mercer thing with the Blacklight virus, but whatever. But it is nice to learn a little bit more about that. I mean, I like learning about the history of these characters, and the history of Umbrella. It's like it's something I've always really been into with lore. I mean, I always love learning lore in stories, and Resident Evil has a surprising amount of lore to it. Considering its origins and the kind of stories that they usually tell. it's like, yeah, there's actually a lot going on, and they actually do this a lot with like Remake, especially when they expanded on things with Lisa Trevor and you know all the awful stuff that went on with that, and it's like, yeah, there's a lot to look into, and I always love it when these games add a little bit more. I mean, the stuff that's good. I mean, there is bad backstory that's been added in later games, but I like it when we get the good stuff. It's like, no, this is good. I like this. I mean, even seeing lore in like a game like Resident Evil 4 in an entirely new area, not even connected to Umbrella. So, but learning more about Umbrella, because you have these like decades and decades before the first game even starts, before Resident Evil Zero takes place, where you have all the stuff that was going on that built up Umbrella to the company that it would eventually end up becoming. So that's always interesting, and I like seeing that, and I like learning a bit more about, sort of like the relationships between characters like Marcus and Oswald Spencer, and how like Spencer is just like backstabbing everyone, like, no, I will be number one. It's really nice to get a little bit more of that, because it really helps flesh out a lot of the story and give context. I mean, even just having Birkin show up and talk about wanting to finish the G virus, that's already setting up stuff for Resident Evil 2, and it's connecting the game. So it's like, even if it's not like them directly setting it up by like showing Leon and Claire or Hunk or whatever, it actually is sort of setting it up by going, okay, no, we're having this character talk about stuff that just further justifies why they were in X spot and at Y time when that event went down. And this is why Birkin was really just staying in Raccoon City when everything was was starting to go bad, and why when Umbrella came in and gunned him down to take the G virus. I really did like what it did with Rebecca. It actually gave Rebecca a story, and so you have a story that takes place before the first game. So stuff that you get to see, stuff that she was doing, and all the story that she was going through, before Resident Evil 1. And it still kind of has that sort of camp to it, like, and it's something that I do like, is that you can, I think eventually they kind of are able to sort of mix okay, we are sort of a campy horror story, but we can mix serious moments with just ridiculous stuff. All the crazy monsters, the zombies and stuff. It's like, yeah, that's ridiculous. But, it's really nice when they find the balance, because some of the old games could just be really cheesy, particularly like Resident Evil 1 and 2. Especially with some of the terrible voice acting and, translations. But those were just plain meme worthy. But it's nice to see, I like the approach in like Remake, where it's like you do actually have some more serious stuff. It takes itself a little bit more seriously. And I mean, you could really do that with these games. And I do like how Resident Evil 0 was really nice with Rebecca's character, because, I mean, like I said before, Rebecca didn't really have a whole lot. So it's at least nice that she has, this story. Though it is funny, seeing her go through all the crap and, fighting all the monsters and Tyrant, and then seeing her be scared in, Resident Evil 1, or Resident Evil Remake specifically. It's like, yeah, but I guess that stuff is still scary even if you've already been through it. And especially, it's not even that long. It's like literally like Resident Evil 0 ends, and then then she walks right into Resident Evil 1. But yeah, I mean, Resident Evil 0, usually these kinds of prequels, usually you don't really pay them much mind, but Resident Evil 0, I actually think, is kind of an important part of the Resident Evil story. And that, I think it's interesting you go from Resident Evil 0 to 1, 2, 3, Code Veronica 4, and you actually get a more complete, especially if you're talking about everything from 0 to Code Veronica, particularly with all the stuff relating to Umbrella and Wesker specifically. It's like, yeah, it actually connects a little bit more to stuff. And, and I really like it when you see these games sort of like connecting to each other, and it's like, I like that. I like that. it's some good writing when you it makes the games work better as like a whole, like all the games together. It makes them greater than the sum of their parts. Is what I'm saying. Is that the story is even more enjoyable once you have full context for everything, rather than just being good individually. I think that's really about it. There's not a whole lot to say on this, so I'm not going to ramble on too much more because I feel like I'm already kind of rambling. So if you want to submit a topic to me, you can comment below if you're on YouTube, or if you're on Tumblr, you can send me an ask and put topic colon then whatever topic you want me to talk about. Just make sure to follow the rules that I'll be posting down below. If you want to watch last week's topic video, you can check that out here. If you want to watch next week's topic video, you can check that out here when I get that done. And thank you for watching.